Good morning, all. This is Dr. Deepak Mashru from Department of Communication Skills, Marwadi University. Today, we are going to talk about PrécisWriting. This is going to be very important session for you people, as you find one question from GTU every time, and for your report writing, for your data analysis, it is required to precisely write things. Before I start, I would like to start with a small story. What the story is about, right? I like to talk about that, and then we will go ahead with the topic today. So we go in that way. You must have heard people talking about, they tell a lot of stories and anecdotes, and people are in hurry. Sometimes they don't like such kind of things, so they tell that instead of moving around, it's better that we go for to the point. Now, thing is that up to what extent it is important to make things precise. We can go in such a way that we omit, ignore, exclude whatever is unimportant, and we include each and everything which is important to us. So in that way we can create PrécisWriting, right? So let's go for it further, and I'll take you to those things. Now if you look at the first screen, you will get to know that I have put here an image of pie chart. You know pie chart, right? So what is pie chart? Pie chart is a kind of chart that describes data. Now if you look at this chart, I have divided this chart in two parts. One part is of 1/3, and the second part, which is in blue color, that is of 2/3 part. Now what does it mean? This is the crux of PrécisWriting. In one slide, in one sentence, if I tell you that what do you mean by PrécisWriting, you can look at this pie chart and you'll get to know. That is converting your content into 1/3 part is PrécisWriting, right? So here whatever content will be given, right, we will convert that content, that passage, that paragraph, right, into 1/3 length, that too in a meaningful way, that will be considered as PrécisWriting. So we'll move around that thing today, and with some examples I'm going to share details on it. Fine, let's move ahead. Right, we talk about what is the meaning of PrécisWriting. What do you mean by précis? So précis is a French word. If you look at the spelling of précis, you will get to know that it is something different. You will find a one symbol on E, right? It's précis, right? That means to be precise. A précis means is a concise or abridged statement. Concise and abridged statement, that means a summary or an abstract. Everybody likes to summarize things. So here what shall we do is we'll learn how to summarize and abstract things. So we'll talk about it in the in this session, right? Okay, so precise, concise, abridged, summary, abstract, they belong to the same family minded. That means to cut short and put the things to the point in a nutshell, right? Okay, let's move ahead with the next one. right? A précis is a continuous and condensed piece of composition giving a precise or an exact idea of the original passage. What I've done here is I have bold in italic. I've converted three words here into bold in italic form. One is continuous, second is condensed, and third is composition. Now look at this continuous word. That means it should be free flow. One, that means it should be logically connected. Number two, it should be condensed. Condensed means it should be in abbreviated form, it should be in short form, it should be in summarized form, right? And third word is composition. To compose means to create, right? You must have seen, when people in the Hollywood, Bollywood, they compose, tunes and songs, right? That means that is something own. That means here you cannot buy, borrow, steal words from the original passage. You need to rewrite. In English, it is called paraphrasing. It is called paraphrasing. This word will come in the later part of this session. I'll explain that. So it should be logically connected. One, it should be condensed. That means it should be in short form, and it should be in a composition. That means it should be created on your own, right? And the most important thing is it should be having the exact idea of the original passage. Now you may have a question raised in your mind that what do you mean by exit idea? That means if I read a précis, if I read original passage, that means I can get the idea about it. If I get the similar idea, that means my précis is better. All right? Okay. Next paragraph. It should be brief and to the point, including everything important and excluding everything unimportant. As I told you earlier, that means in the paragraph, you find out and categorize entire detail in two parts. Whatever is important and whatever is unimportant. Whatever is unimportant, leave it. And whatever is important, take it. Leave it, take it, right? So whatever you take, right, you categorize it, right? You put it in a continuous form. That means you connect it logically, and then you prescribe it, you rewrite it, you paraphrase it. That would be your précis, right? So this is what we are going to learn today. Moving on next, one question that has been there in GTU exam or wherever précis as a topic is there in any of the exam is what is the difference between précis and summary. Now, if you know this is important, I'm going to talk about it in detail because people have lots of misconception, misunderstanding, confusion between précis and summary. Right, so we'll discuss this little bit in detail for your understanding. If you look at the first sentence, précis should be clearly distinguished. Distinguished means differentiated. That means it should differ. It should be separate from paraphrase and summary. Right? There are very, there is a close connection between these family members. So we need to find out the hairline difference, very thin difference, among these words, right? So it should not be simply a paraphrase. It should not be simply a summary, right? Okay, a paraphrase is an attempt to render in one's own words the ideas and meanings of the original. That means when you render it, that means when you must have seen that from the buttermilk, how butter is created, that the art of skimming. That means you find that your mom would be doing, or maybe in the with the gadgets we have grinder, right? So by doing that we find that butter coming out, right? This is skimming, right? This is a part of reading, but here that means we touch each and every part, we make it right, and we convert it into format. That is rendering, right? In a simplest way, we can say that rendering means converting a content from one format to another format, right? You must have seen that people then are doing in the earlier time when this digital era was not that much, where the handy cams and video cameras were of DVs. They were not memory cards or hard disks. At that time, right, there used to be cassettes of video recording. That means you convert your video recording in one format, and then you convert that format into other format that's acceptable. For example, MP4, MPV, or we have MKV format, or we have MP4 format, right? So there are different formats. To convert from one format to another format is called rendering. That means what do we do here? We do rendering from one paragraph to other paragraph. That content remains, the soul remains same, but body is changed, right? Okay, the idea and the meaning of the original. Now the press is entirely different from a paraphrase. It is always much shorter than the original. When you do the paraphrasing, it is possible that the main idea was of 100 words, and rendering has gone to paraphrase has gone to 200 words. It happens. That means from MKV file to MP4, right? Or different format, size varies. But in Prezi, it should be always lesser than the original one. If original passage has 300 words, the fundamental condition of Prezi is it should be of 1/3. That means it should be of 100 words only. Fine. Okay. Now, to be very precise, a Prezi and summary, what I've done is I've put over here an image. That image will get to know that what is the difference between summary and Prezi, right? It has been asked twice, right, in the final exams. So it is important for you people. Summary is a brief statement that covers the main points of the text. That means in summary, we find the main points are being covered, right? In Prezi, it should have a title and be 1/3 of the total words in the original passage. See, if you look at the difference between summary and the Prezi, you will get to know that over here they do not give a title. Here we give a title to the Prezi, right? Here there is no restriction of number of words, right? Here we have a now limitation of 1/3 words. Okay, now in summary, discuss the main events in general. Our focus is on every detail and analyzes a particular situation. That means here in Prezi we have detailed analysis. In summary, it is little bit generic in form, right? So it has been said that every Prezi is a summary, but every summary is not a Prezi. This statement can be asked for 4 marks, that you explain every summary is not a Prezi, but every Prezi is a summary. So you need to explain these 4 points and you will get the desired result. Fine, let's move ahead. Are we all together? Right, if you understood up to this, right, you write in the comment yes, so that I can move ahead next. Fine. Up to this, right, write in the comment yes, so that I can move ahead next. Fine. Thank you, Parthiv. Thank you, Parth, for your quick response. Oh, yeah, lots of people saying yes. Good. Virali, you say yes or write your enrollment number full, right? Okay, so majority of the people saying yes, so we can go ahead. Okay, so let's go a little bit detail about present summary. A summary may be a telegraphic, a mixture of loose, broken, disconnected sentences, but a précis has to be well properly thought out literally piece, right? That means, yeah, there's a question from Ramesh, right? You write down your right name so that I can, point out with your name. So here, where we are using summary, means in which context, right? So wherever when you share your ideas from the big idea, original idea, and you summarize it. For example, if somebody says that I like to watch or read book reviews, so book review is the best example of summary. It has, some book reviews are of 1 page, some book reviews are of 50 pages, some book reviews are of more than the content or total number of pages of the book. That means we do not have the word limit of summary, right? So summary is there. For example, if you have a good project in the next semester, right, or in the final semester, you take up a project or definition, and somebody asks you that, can you explain, what is your project? So instead of telling your entire project, you will tell them that this is what the main points, right? So that means you summarize your ideas. In essay writing, what did we do in essay writing, right? In paragraph writing, whatever we write, introduction and the body, in the last, whatever we mentioned, right, we summarize it, we conclude it. That is summary. I hope you understood that, right? Okay, now look at the screen. A summary may be telegraphic. Yeah, telegraphic. Tele means, whatever you see from the distance to closer. Graph means to, in the word form. That means you zoom and you zoom in and you look at the things, right? It can be broken, disconnected sentences. That means it cannot be logically connected, right? But précis is logically connected. This is the difference. There are no governing laws for summary. As I mentioned, that book review can be of 1 page, 2 pages, it can be of 100 pages, right? But summary has to be 1/3. That's all. Fine. Okay. A précis has to be subject itself to definite laws. So précis has laws, and that laws are to be implemented, abide by the précis. That's required. Okay. Now, in summary, one can borrow suitable words from the original passage. That means the typical style of yours till now, what you have done is you read the paragraph, you make the brackets of the important sentences, you borrow from there, put it in a separate paper, right? Jot down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and your job is done, right? Because it is not required to be redrafted, it is not required to be of 1/3 length, it is not required to be of exactly revision or rendering or paraphrasing. You can directly get the same words and put there, right? Because it is summary, that's why. Now, a précis has to be entirely in one's own words and in one's style. That means it should be in one own words. That means own words does not mean own words does not means that it should be it should be in different language, it should be English only, right? But it should be in one style. That means everybody has different style of writing, the way everybody has own style, so you can write down in that way. For example, you can go for passive voice, you can go for reported speech, you can go for casual structure, whatever style, whatever form you like, you can go for it. Path mentioned that I have not told that summary should be 1/3. Summary can be of any length. Précis should be of 1/3 length. That means whatever you do part right now till date is right. Fine. So we do 1/3 in précis, not in summary. Okay. Okay. Let's go for other thing. If I look at the last sentence in a précis, one cannot borrow words from the original passage if alternative words are available, right? That means if you can paraphrase it, if you can write in your own words, you can definitely go for your own way. But if you don't find words, you can technical words, jargons, you can pick the words, you can mention it, but make sure that you may lose your marks, all right? Okay. This is, this will, I guess, uh, solve the doubt what path raised, right? The length of a summary is not fixed. A summary may be of any length. It may be very short or it may be very long, but the length of a précis is fixed. That is 1/3 of the total given passage. Fine. Okay. Now, what are the rules for PrécisWriting? Right? There are 7 rules to follow. Rule number 1: read the original passage very carefully twice or thrice. Right? So here I'll suggest that use the techniques of reading which I taught you. That means if you can create, right, a mental map, design a mental map of your passage, that would be good. That means you can have a pen or paper and you underline it, right? That means dotted lines, then curly lines and straight lines. Fine. So whatever is important, right, you go with the underline. Whatever is not important, that goes with curly lines, and where you are not sure whether it is important or not important, you go with broken lines. That is dash dash dash, right? So you can come back again and you look at it, right? Once you do this, right, what you will need to do is you need to read again and again the points which you underlined, right, with the straight lines, right? You forget about the curly lines, right? So you can have at least, right, more focus. That means you have zoomed into the paragraph with more detail. Underline important ideas and points in the whole paragraph. Then you can jot down all important points from the original passage, right? That is up to you. If you can jot down, you can have idea, because if you jot down when you jot down, you write on your own words, so that will help you to paraphrase, construct new précis, right, while writing it. Then omit all important points and ideas. I told you that whatever is mentioned with the curly lines, remove it. Fine. That then the point number 6, point number 5, I tell you that there is no possible way of making a précis in the first draft, right? That means there has to be always one rough draft which you require to revise. So 5th point is you make a rough draft of the précis, right? And then roughly calculate the number of words of your précis and the main words and map with whether it is of 1/3 or not, right? Number 1. Number 2, you check it out that whether you could include all the important points or not. Fine. And then you go ahead. Then point number 6 is give an appropriate or suitable title heading if asked for. Generally, you are asked to give a title. Now, how to find a title? There are 3 points, or there are 3 ways of looking at the title, right? Or look for the title. Number 1, you look at the first paragraph. In the first paragraph itself, you will get to know what is the purpose of writing this paragraph. Number 2, right, you read the last paragraph, you will get to know that what was the reason why this paragraph, this passage was written. If you cannot find your idea of writing this paragraph from first and the last, the point number 3, you look at the word which words have been used more frequently, or which is the word which is there in the center where the paragraph moves around, right? So that would be the core idea. Based on that, you can define your title if asked for. Make a fair copy of the draft. As I told you, from point number 5, rule number 5, after making a rough draft, right, you can go for the fair draft after certain changes. Fine. Okay. Now, what is the expectation from you so far as a précis is concerned? So what I've done is I have just created a kind of smart art so that I can explain you better. A précis should be, it should be number one, it should be a well connected. That means it should be properly structured, it should be logically connected. Number two, it should be in a proper style, right? So proper style should be there grammatically. It should be a running literary piece. That means one should feel like it is in a free flow. It is properly connected, logically connected, and it is a one piece, right? It is not the different islands, right? It is connected properly in a way. It should be in one's own words. That means if one has written in own words, everybody copies. It's not like that. That means the one who writes, it should be in his or her own words. Fine. That means there are 5 people who are writing. There should be 5 different précis. And for that, I tell you that very important thing, that there is no definite fixed answer to précis. That means we cannot say like mathematics that this is the answer, right? That means all the answers are correct. That means all the answers may be incorrect. That means, so this is confusing. I help you to resolve your idea, your confusion. That means in précis we have less suitable and more suitable answers, right? That means more befitting, less befitting answer. If your answer is proper, in that there is no problem. Yeah, there is no constraint for writing a précis in 1 paragraph or 3 paragraphs. There is no problem, right? There is no rule that it should be written in 1 paragraph. You can go with many paragraphs, you can go with 1 paragraph, there is no problem, right? So that's okay if you write in 1 paragraph or if you divide your ideas in 3 paragraphs. But the condition is it should be of 1/3 length in terms of number of words compared to main passage given to you, right? Okay, 1/3 in length I mentioned, right? Okay, so let's move next. What are the stages of making a précis? Right, there are 5 stages, 5 steps. Okay, so here before I start with the stages, I like to ask you that are you all clear with the difference between a précis and summary? If you are clear with that, you need to say yes in the comment box so that I can go ahead with the stages of making précis. I'm waiting for your responses. I like to see that who is the first one to reply to post the response. I'll move ahead after confirming that whatever we have studied till now, we have cleared it. Yes, Mahek has said yes. Bijrat Singh, okay, Darshan, Harsh, Jit Gaurav, Harshit, Ramesh. Okay, Ramesh has said yes. Okay, good. Right. Okay. Oh my God, I'm not able to read your names. It's so fast updating, right? Okay, fine, 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 fine. I'm happy. Okay, yeah, keep on posting that, right? That makes me happy. Okay, so let's go through the stages of Prezi. Number one, reading carefully of the given passage, right? Carefully doesn't mean that, I told you that reading means understanding. Whatever comes before your eyes, right? If you don't understand, it is seeing, it is not reading. Fine. So you understand, right, that reading carefully means, you read it, even try to read between the lines. Sometimes there are, words which has got, superficial meaning. There are words which has got, different meaning, right? So we need to understand that. Number two, slow and careful reading twice or thrice, right? You don't, go in hurry, right? Read slowly, then underline the important points. So whatever points you find it important, you go for it. That's why I suggested that you can go with 3-tier strategy. Number one, underline. Number two, dotted underline. Number three, curly underline. That is like this, right? Okay, so whatever is important, you straight away underline that. Whatever is not important, you underline in this way with curly line. So you omit that, all the examples and all dates and all this, fine. And wherever you doubt, right, you go with dotted line, so that either you can convert into this or you convert into this. If you join the dotted line, it can be your straight away line. If you convert into curves, right, it would be curving line, right? So you can do it easily in that way. Fine. Okay. Then stage number 4 is putting the main points together. That means whatever points you have mentioned, you put it there. We are talking about the rough draft, rather pre-rough draft. Right? Okay. So you put down there all the important points, right? Put down there, jot down, and look at it. Then you decide, define, design, right? And think how you can connect those points, right? Okay, and then you create a rough draft. Then after designing your rough draft, after writing your rough draft, have a look at it. Could you include each and every important point, right, into this or not? Number one, is your Prezi grammatically correct or not? Number three, could you write each and every word which is your own, or have you borrowed words from the main passage, right? I advise you that if you can go to the Google and find out one word substitution, this is something which will help you like anything, right? That means there is always one word for one statement, one situation, one position, right? That means there are definitions which we can, instead of writing definition, we can write one. Yeah, Mahek, I would like to tell you that this Prezi is going to be asked for 7 marks. And if you divide total number of marks divided by number of time or total number of minutes, right, you will get to know, right? Second thing is, once you start practicing it, it will be easier for you. For example, a reading passage is given to you of 600 words. Now, if you look at the ideal position of any student of undergraduate of your age, he is expected to read 300 words per minute. You'll be surprised to know, but if you count, you would be somewhere around 150 200 words. So if you take 200 words, for example, that means a person can read 200 words in a minute. That means 600 words. That means you are going to spend 3 minutes to read once. And if you improve your reading skill, right, you can go to 400 words per minute. That means in 1.5 minute time, you can read your entire paragraph, right? And you apply a rough draft and all go for it, it will not be more than 6-7 minutes, right? Why we are talking about it more detail, because this is going to help you for your report writing, your wherever you go for proposal writing, wherever you go in the future, this is going to help you. That's why we're going to talk about in detail, right? Otherwise you take anything, it will take time without practice. So unless and until you don't do it, it will not help you in that way, right? Okay. So once you practice it, it will help you. Mahek, if you still find a problem, you get back to me. I'll solve your problem, right? You can inbox me in that way. Okay. So there is a final draft. You can go for it. Now, how to go for it, right? There are certain hints to make a press effective. First of all, in Prezi, one should use words as carefully as possible. That means your each word has a meaning. When you are going, when you have less words, right? It is very important. That means if you have to speak 5 words only, you have to prepare for 5 hours. But if you are supposed to speak for 5 hours, you may not require to prepare even for 5 minutes. That means if you want to speak more, write more, you can go in any direction. But when you are going to speak precisely, right, in that way, you require less words. I like to cite one very beautiful example, right? If you go to the YouTube, right, you will find the most effective or shortest video presentation by Microsoft. Fine. So the person who was earlier CEO of Microsoft, I'll not tell the name, you'll find it out, right? He was asked to impress the entire Microsoft family in 90 seconds. And he did it in 65 seconds only. So what did he do? He must have thought for number of days, number of hours to implement that. So if you go for it, it will help you like anything. Even if I'll share in a class WhatsApp group for your reference, if you don't find it out, right? Yeah. See, I would like to mention that uh, so there is no way to get frustrated, right? The it has been, the world is the history is there in the you know in evidence. We can find that when there are heroes, the people with extra power, world has always had more expectations, and world has more expectations from those people, right? So here, looking at the smart generation, right, you are millennials, so we have more expectations. And as I told you earlier, that it is not like um, that you cannot do it. Before doing that you feel like that, but once you go for it, you can do it in a better way. When you look at the example I'm going to share in this session, you will get to know that is far easier than we think of. Fine. Okay. So second number is write Prezi as far as possible, right, in your own language. The reproduction of many sentences from the passage should be avoided. That means there are words, phrases, sentences which have been used, reused many times, right? Omit those things, right? It should be faithful summary of the original passage, right? That means it should be to the point, right? That means, right, if you look at the Prezi, if you look at the main paragraph, it should not be different. Fine. It should be complementing each other. That means by reading a Prezi, I should get the idea about the original passage, right? It should not be something different. Okay. uh, it should not, like what happened in the 3 years, that what defined machine, right? It should not be like that. It should be complementing each other. Take care not to exceed the required length, right, by too many words. So you can go for 1/3 words, For example, if there are 300 words, if you write up to 110 words, 15 words is okay. If you limit to 90 words is okay, but it should not be 60, it should not be 125, right? So you should be in that range, right? It is not particularly, limiting. It's not watertight compartment that, you should not exceed one third length, right? It's a range, but the range should be within the range of that words, right? Okay. If one finds that one's first draft is too long, one may write second draft, but I always, advise that there should be two drafts. First rough draft and second is, final draft. Right? There are 12 rules only, so don't worry, right? Yeah, this is going to be end of this hints for making a précis. While making the précis, direct speech should be changed into indirect speech, right? This is what I told you that, everybody has their own style of writing things. Okay, now exclamations, questions should be changed into assertive forms, right? For example, if I say, what do you mean by that, right? So what does he mean, or what he does mean, or what he means, right? So it should be changed, right? Complex sentence should be changed to simple sentence. I told you that, right? Complex sentences are, consume more number of words. Simple sentences consume less number of words. That's why it should be changed. There is no logic behind it, but to reduce the number of words, we can use this kind of tactics. The précis should be preferably in the third person in the same tense as the original one, right? That means it should be impersonal, right? For example, if I say I believe, instead of we say it is believed. Fine. If asked for a suitable title or heading, it should be given. But generally, everybody asks this. So we need to be prepared for this. While looking at the first glance over the passage, you should have, in the back of your mind, you should have a question that, okay, what can be the title of the passage? So that will help you, right? See, our brain is, it is a kind of beast. You can direct him, in any of the direction, right? It is you who can take the work from the beast, right? So to go for it. Okay. The précis must be in a simple, direct, grammatical, and idiomatic language. And before submitting, one should correct all mistakes in spelling, grammar, and punctuations, right? So this is what you need to have a look at it from grammar point of view, spelling point of view, collocations point of view, language user point of view, and the content point of view. That will help you. Okay. So this is the thing. These are the 8 qualities of a précis. It should have brevity, right? Brevity means it should have that stuff, that weight that people would like to read, right? It should have clearness. That means clearness means it is not the one that you see the blank, but it should be, logically clear, right? That person should know. Coherence, there should be logical connectivity from one thought to another thought, from one sentence to another sentence. There should be no repetition, right? You should not repeat the number of words, right? So that's the thing. Fifth one is impersonal manner. As I told you that third person is impersonal. When I say I, you, he, she, it, they, that is personal. But when I say it is impersonal. It should have own language. It should be English only, but own style, own language, own words. No figure of speech, right? It should have simple but correct language. Fine. Okay. Now look at this. I'll give you, it's 189 words. I'll give you 2 minutes to read this, right? And tell me what can be the précis of this. Okay, I'll go reverse because we don't have much time, right? I'll go reverse and I'll tell you, right? This is the answer. Look at this. According to the author, an ideally good man is intentionally religious and avoids bad habits such as smoking and drinking. He does not use obscene or indecent language and has a fear of wrongdoing and wrong thinking. He is professionally dutiful and takes active interest in promoting virtues such as patriotism, industry, and sobriety among workers and the children. If possible, he prevents the employment of professors with subversive ideas, right? Professors, professionals. Now, this is the Presi. Heading is characteristics of a good man. That means what should a good man have in terms of qualities. Fine. Okay. Now you look at it according to the author, right? Ideally, good man should be religious. It should avoid bad habits such as smoking and drinking, right? It should not use indecent language. He should be God-fearing person. He should be professionally dutiful, right? And he should be a patriot. It should be industrious. That means hardworking, fine. And he should have a good feeling for workers and children, right? And if possible, right, he shares ideas so that his fellow people can get good job or employment. Now look at this. We all know what we mean by a good man. The ideally good man does not drink, smoke, avoids bad language, conserves in the presence of men only exactly as he would if there were ladies present, attends church regularly and holds the correct opinion on all the subjects. He has a wholesome horror of wrongdoing and realizes that it is our painful duty to castigate sin. He has a still greater horror of wrong thinking and considers it the business of the authorities to safeguard the young against those who question the wisdom of the views generally accepted by middle-aged successful citizens. Apart from his professional duties, that means apart from his work at which he is assiduous, he spends much time in good works. He may encourage patriotism and military training. He may promote industry, sobriety, and virtue among wage earners and the children by seeing to it that failures in this respect receive due punishment. He may be a trustee or of a university and prevent an ill-judged respect for learning from allowing the employment of professors with subversive ideas. Above all, of course, his morals in the narrow sense must be irreproachable. Now you need to understand, right? We did reverse thing, right? So this is the way, you read the paragraph and you try to have a mental map. You visualize what can be the, what this paragraph talks about. This paragraph talks about a good man, what good man is, right? And what are the qualities of a good man, right? So society, good man is qualities, his duties. These are the four things. It moves around that, and we talk about this. So this is the way we can work it out. I guess we don't have much time, otherwise I would have taken another example. I'm going to share one PDF with a few sold examples so that can help you, right? So this was all for the day. If you have a question, you can ask me, right? You can inbox me, Alex, and I try to help you out with your solving your doubts, right? Thank you very much for today. Have a great day and have a great evening. Have a great weekend, right? Stay at your home, stay safe, right? And keep on reading and learning, right? Something new that can help you for your future, right? Thank you very much. That's the end of the day.